Hi everyone! Guess what? This video and the series I'm starting with it aren't going to have anything to do with teaching. Well, actually I probably shouldn't promise that because I love teaching and I will probably end up talking about it at some point. But I can promise that it is not actually intentionally focused on teaching. So, something kind of new-ish. Before I get into today's topic, which is why Maleficent is the best Disney villain ever, in case you didn't get that from the title, I want to remind you that I absolutely love comments. I am here for comments, so go ahead and leave me a comment telling me how your day is going, or your week, or how much 2021 has sucked, because it has, or who knows, who you think is the best Disney villain. And then come back and watch the video and find out why, if you didn't think it's Maleficent, you're wrong and you should change your mind. Spoilers ahead. In case you've been living under an enormous rock for nearly a century, Maleficent is the name given to the antagonist in Disney's version of the classic fairy tale Sleeping Beauty. Disney made a number of changes to streamline and clarify the story. One well-known change is that Will you stop beeping at me? One well-known change is that the curse in Disney's version only lasts for a few days at most before it's broken. Another is that the characters are given names rather than being referred to by their roles: the princess, the good fairy, the prince's father, and so on. But the most significant change, as far as I'm concerned, is that in all the earlier versions of the story that I've seen, once the angry fairy curses the baby princess, that's the end of her activity in the story. She doesn't stick around to make sure the curse is fulfilled. She doesn't conjure up a spinning wheel. She doesn't bewitch the princess into touching the spindle. She doesn't imprison the prince. And most distressingly, she never turns into a dragon. When people talk about fairy tales being Disneyfied, they're generally talking about the removal of the more horrifying elements of the stories, such as Snow White's evil stepmother being invited to the wedding and then forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she drops dead, or Cinderella's stepsisters slicing off parts of their feet in order to fit them into the glass slipper. That book sounds really good, by the way. I've put its good reads link down in the description. Anyway, what people don't usually consider is the ways in which Disney's changes sometimes make the story more violent or scary. I mean, take a look at this. Check out those soulless glowing eyes, the black spines, the talons, the sinister purple smoke, and, oh yeah, that gout of electric green flames spewing from the creature's mouth. Sure, that's so much gentler and more reassuring than earlier versions of the story. And that wasn't something new. All the way back in their first feature film, Disney showed Snow White's escape through the forest as a terrifying adventure. The pacing, the fast cuts, the color contrast between Snow White and the darkness surrounding her, the wonderfully vivid expression of the character's reaction, it's all deliciously scary. Similarly, Prince Philip's valiant charge toward Maleficent in her dragon form as she towers above him is both thrilling and intense. Again, the use of contrasting color is wonderful. The inky darkness of her sleek scales, the muted purpley gray of the sky, the bright green flames, and the wee patch of color from Philip's cloak illustrating just how small he is in comparison to her. It's one of my favorite sequences. I actually have a poster based on the scene. And that title, Maleficent's Fury. Woo, it just gives me chills. How can you not adore her? She's so amazingly badass. So anyway, I've had this headcanon about Maleficent for years and years, since well before the live-action movie came out. And I knew they weren't going to use my idea, which is fabulous, so I kind of haven't seen the movie because I like my idea. Thank you very much. It's based upon the underlying concept that magic, just like everything else, follows rules. Magical physics, if you will. These rules apply to all uses of magic, whether it's a sorcerer's spell, a witch's brew, or the skills of an innately magical being. Just like a bird being able to fly doesn't mean that gravity doesn't exist. The capacity of fairies to curse someone or dragons to shapeshift or belch fire, they don't really breathe it. Those are all abilities that occur within the rules of magic. Additionally, they're naturally occurring abilities. Dogs, for example, have a far keener sense of smell than humans do. Humans can perceive more differences in color than dogs can. And of course, there's also variation within each type of creature. You can take tests to see just how good you are at spotting out slight differences in shades of color, for example. There's a link in the description. Try it out. It's fun. And in addition to innate abilities, there are also naturally occurring tendencies. Humans are adaptable and curious and have some kind of drive to sort things into categories. Dogs are loyal. Cats are jerks. Okay, maybe that's a little harsh, but you get the idea. Fairies, for example, have an intrinsic connection to will and belief. They are able to shape their own beliefs into existence through sheer willpower. This is the way that gifts and curses work. But this connection also affects them as well. This is the source of the claim in Peter Pan that whenever someone says, "I do not believe in fairies," somewhere a fairy drops down dead. As well as the reverse, that by clapping your hands to show that you do believe, a fairy can be revived. Although fairies are often thought of as fickle creatures, it's more accurate to think of them as consistently true to their own natures. They are, for the most part, constant. If they are injured or insulted, they do not forgive easily, and they do not forget. This is why you never, ever want to mess with the Fae. An excellent example of a fairy is Bast in Patrick Rothfuss's novel, The Name of the Wind. Listen to this passage in which chronicler who has been traveling with Bast and his companion has insisted that the truth of the tale should be of the highest priority, regardless of the consequences of telling it. Bast decides to help chronicler see the error in that point of view. You think I'm playing at some game? You think iron will keep you safe? Hear my words, manling. Do not mistake me for my mask. You see light dappling on the water and forget the deep, dark cold beneath. Listen. You cannot hurt me. You cannot run or hide. In this, I will not be denied. I swear by all the salt in me, if you run counter to my desire, the remainder of your brief mortal span will be an orchestra of misery. I swear by stone and oak and elm, I'll make a game of you. I'll follow you unseen and smother any spark of joy you find. You'll never know a woman's touch, a breath of rest, a moment's peace of mind. And I swear by the night sky and the ever-moving moon, if you lead my master to despair, I will slit you open and splash around like a child in a muddy puddle. I'll string a fiddle with your guts and make you play it while I dance. You are an educated man. You know there are no such things as demons. There is only my kind. You are not wise enough to fear me as I should be feared. You do not know the first note of the music that moves me. The whole scene is brilliant, and Bast is a delightful character. Goodreads link in the description. Now, contrary to fairies, dragons are much more direct. Tick off a dragon and wham! Blotto. Dragons regard humans the way we regard ants. They're intriguing little creatures with their odd society and weird rules. They get so upset about the least things, like when you draw your finger across an ant's path and it gets to that spot and it's so confused. The scent has changed. It's gone. Where's the path? It's a catastrophe. However, when an ant bites you, what? The absolute cheek! The audacity! Little Fisher, squish! It's not like you had anything against that ant or there's some kind of grudge or it's that big a deal or anything. It's a minor annoyance at most. But yeah, sure, maybe there are some particularly gentle, kind-hearted humans that might take the ant and set it down somewhere safe. But most of us? Nah. Circle of life, loser. Oh, and have you ever had ants inside your house? Maybe a door or a window doesn't completely seal and they find their way in and discover your pantry. When you pick up a bag of flour and find out that there are ants that have chewed their way in, and there's a little line of them going back to a crack in the wall, each one carrying little grains. It's war. Same thing with humans and dragons. Do not enter a dragon's lair. You put not only yourself, but anyone nearby in danger. Dragons are like, there's never just one. If you see one, you know that more are either on their way or they're already there. To a dragon, humans are an infestation. However, the nice thing about dragons is that unlike fairies, once the irritant is gone, their rage passes quickly and doesn't linger. It's not that they forget, it's just that they stop caring. Seriously, when was the last time you worried about ants? Dragons are imaginative, playful creatures. It's just that their play can be traumatic to less powerful creatures. This is the same kind of behavior that we see from Maleficent. She's not a fairy. She's a dragon who's been playing at being a fairy. She has shapeshifted into that form. When she appears and disappears, it's in a burst of flame. Her cloak covers her almost completely, but you can see the ridges on her horns and her neck, the reptilian segments that hint at her true nature. When Merryweather shouts out that she's not wanted, Maleficent shows her displeasure in the florid, over-the-top way that she imagines a fairy would, feigning surprise and indignation. Then she casts a curse on the infant princess. Oops. You see, dragons can't cast curses. But somehow the curse manifests, and when it does, its existence and nature become tied to hers. Until the curse is fulfilled, Maleficent is trapped in the form she has taken. You think Monopoly takes forever? Try being stuck playing the same game for 16 years. When the story skips ahead, we see that Maleficent has changed significantly. Her face is drawn and haggard, and she's irritable and shrill rather than coolly elegant as we saw her before. She is so over it. But once the curse is fulfilled, she is free. And playing is fun again because she's not stuck anymore. She toys with Prince Philip, and when he tries to take a stand against her, she takes a breath and stretches and grows, and oh, it feels so good to be back in her true form again. And it's been so long since she was big and strong, and she very nearly forgotten how absolutely delightful it is to just smash things and crush them and burn everything. It's just fun. Yeah, I know I used that gif before. It's just so cool. But then those horrid little fairies have to go and bewitch Philip's sword. Really, it's rather unfair. She didn't mean to get stuck in a curse and destroy the kingdom. She just didn't really think it all through. I love dragons. I love their passion and their power and their impatience. They embody many of the qualities that I aspire to and the foibles that I struggle with. They are my favoritist of favorite mythic creatures. Even at their most terrible, they inspire awe and wonder. They keep us humble, reminding us that we may be quite clever and creative, but we are also very squishy. I've had a bumper sticker that looks kind of like this for ages. Honestly, I think it's actually multiple decades at this point, but I can't bring myself to put it on anything because I want to keep it. It's actually in my sticker bag, and I wanted to show it to you, but my stickers are all at school because I'm giving them out to students. So, however, if I were going to design such a bumper sticker, I would change the way that it's worded. It's actually based on a quote from Tolkien about wizards, but wizards aren't nearly as cool as dragons. But my bumper sticker would say, "Do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, for you will never know what a satisfying crunch you make." Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to leave me a comment, pretty please. And I would also love to have you add me on Goodreads. The link is down in the description. Bye for now.